Check one, check two. Hello, I'm Promo Zoe, and welcome back to the second episode of Behind the Scene with me, Promo Zoe. In today's episode, things are going to be getting a little bit real. We're going to be talking about how things can go wrong for you and your career in the music industry. Like, really wrong. We're talking financial struggles, redundancies, bankruptcy, all that kind of fun stuff that no one really talks about behind the scene. Let's start from the beginning, more or less. In the early 2000s, I was made redundant from my role at React Music Limited, and then later from Telstar. After that, I picked up loads of temp jobs, promo work, background artist gigs, just to keep going. And I really loved temping, especially in music. Then eventually I landed another role at Pinnacle and got made redundant again. And these weren't just jobs, these were meant to be stable, long-term, permanent roles. But the whole industry was shifting. CD sales were crashing and digital was taking over. Sites like Napster and peer-to-peer sharing sites were just turning the whole industry upside down, and one by one companies were closing down, going bust. And eventually I was left with nothing but unpaid bills and no backup. I ended up bankrupt. And I feel like it's probably something we don't really talk about enough, maybe in this industry or in day-to-day life. But it happens, and you know what? If you're in this sort of place now, or you're wondering what the hell am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to pay these bills? I'll just know that you are not alone and it's totally fine. And you'll be really surprised how many people have had to write off their debt in this way. It started with one redundancy and I brushed it off because I guess these things happen, right? And then another hit and another. And you know what? I was in my early 20s, renting in London at the time, and while I was still picking up bits of work where I could, nothing was regular enough to cover the basics. So I was living on credit cards, just trying to stay afloat. Food, travel, all that kind of stuff going on the cards. And you know what? If I could have paid my rent with it, I probably would as well. Eventually, I had to call it and file for bankruptcy, as honestly, I couldn't find any other way out of this mess. I could not foresee how I was ever going to find the money to pay any of this off. And honestly, it was the best decision I had ever made. The only thing that held me back at the time and just sort of gave me doubt about it was the stigma. The word bankrupt or filing for bankruptcy seems fairly loaded and like something to be ashamed of, or at least that's what we're told, that we should be feeling ashamed. But you know what? I wasn't that bothered about it at the time. I couldn't see another way out. This was the only solution for me because I figured if I could get this debt written off 5 or 6 years after bankruptcy, I can pick myself back up again financially. And I did. So it turns out it wasn't a failure or anything to be ashamed of. It was a proper full reset and a necessary one. Once I had accepted where I was, it was like rebuild or die at this point, and obviously dying was not an option, and rebuild it was. I started freelancing and picking up various different jobs, from promo work to TV background work, working as a supporting artist, not an extra, and temping. And you know what? I'd always loved temping. I'd actually temp now if I lived in London, but I don't, so I can't. I've actually lost count of the amount of places and all the different places that I've temped, but I do remember Gut Records, Virgin V2, BMG, some book publishers that I can't pronounce properly, so I'm not going to embarrass myself, and some artist agencies and management companies. And what was really cool about temping is like you wouldn't even know, like you get a phone call early morning, can you be at X place by 10 a.m. Yep, cool, I'm there. And you could be there for a day, you could be there for 3 months, 6 months, you know, it could be a temp to perm role, or it could literally be just for the one day. It was super cool, I loved it. And slowly but surely I started to piece together the type of career that I wanted for myself, one that I could be in control of, because I'd come to the realization that I can't depend on employers to keep me in employment. I fundamentally am the only person that I can rely on at this point. And so eventually I became self-employed, and that's where Promo Zoe came from. Out of necessity and out of survival, and knowing that I was not done by any stretch. So listen, if you're in that place now, skin overwhelmed, doubting yourself, please hear this. Look, and I know times are really fucking tough right now. Talk to someone. Ask for help, speak to a friend who's been like through something similar to this, and definitely reach out to Citizens Advice. They can help you with so much stuff, particularly things like going bankrupt. And do not let pride keep you in silence. Pride is bullshit. Pride doesn't pay the rent, and pride doesn't pay your credit cards. I promise you, the second you speak up, talk to a friend, work out how you're going to go through the motions with this, it will get so much lighter for you. And you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. After going bankrupt, it takes, if I remember rightly, but don't quote me on actual facts, this is where Citizens Advice can come in, but I believe it takes 5, maybe 6 years for that bankruptcy to come off your file, and you can start all over again when it comes to credit. It was definitely a big life lesson. I haven't got into that sort of financial difficulty since. I was able to start again with a completely clean slate and have that all behind me. However, I picked up all that experience in all of those different places at the same time. So there's always a silver lining. And my credit score's good, babes. It's all. Don't have the fear. Don't be ashamed. Like I said, pride is bullshit. And pride doesn't pay the bills. So if you are in a similar situation or have been, just know you're not alone. Citizens Advice all day long. Get knocking on their door and see how they can help. So listen, if you enjoyed this episode or know someone that needs to hear, this kind of thing, then please share it with them. Make sure you're following the pod and come and join me on the socials. It's promo_Zoe on Instagram and on TikTok. And let me know if you want to hear more on this subject or any other for that matter. I haven't decided what's going to be in the next ep. I don't really want to hinge myself too much. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, subscribed on Spotify, and I'll be back next month with episode 3. So pick up your bad self, and I'll see you then.